everybody, what is up? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Priscilla Rojas, otherwise known as Priscilla Rojas Fitness. You can also find me on all of my social media, Priscilla Rojas Fitness, and my website is also priscillarojas.com.
Me today, I'm here to tell my story because I know that there's a lot of you out there who can relate.
And I want you to understand why I'm here doing what I do for a living. Well, I grew up as an only child to a single mom who was very young. My mom had me at 15. Well, no, she was pregnant at 15. She had me at 16. My mother is Puerto Rican American. My grandparents from my mother's side came from Puerto Rico to Chicago. My mother was born in Chicago. And actually what's kind of cool is that my mother and father met in Chicago because my grandparents, who are my father's parents, came from Cuba and went to Chicago. My grandparents on both sides of my family, they met and they became friends before they had my mom and my father. So my mom and my father grew up together. And when they became teenagers, the families moved down to Florida. And at 15, my mom ran away from home with my father. And it's so funny because, well, I'm sure it wasn't funny back in that time, but I find it to be funny now in hindsight, just because when I was a teenager, I had my couple years of rebellion, and my family always used to say that it was my mom's payback for everything that she did. As a single parent, my mother and father, they didn't stay together. They were young and, you know, things happen. We did our own thing. It was just me and her all the time, and it was just us. We lived alone, and my mom went to school and she worked 2 jobs, and I used to go to school in the mornings with my next door neighbor because I was in school with their kids, and my mom had to take the train to Miami to get to school, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. I was young. It was kind of like we grew up together, watching my mom be young and beautiful, and everywhere we would go, everybody wanted to befriend her. Since my mom was really young and life was really tough for us, we had not too many resources. My grandmother helped her a lot, so I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. She was my second mom. She would come pick me up all the time, and I would go to her house. I would spend the night at her house, or I would spend the weekend, and I would drive her crazy. But I would call her, and I would pressure her into picking me up because I loved being at my grandmother's house. My grandma would let me, abuelita, ya ustedes saben, abuela te deja hacer cualquier cosa, no hay reglas en su casa. We actually have a recording, that thing that we don't have anymore, when you would call and leave a message on a landline. The little tape recorder where people would leave messages was me at my grandmother's house. My grandmother told me to call my mom and tell her to come pick me up. In the voice message, you can hear me.
Mom, don't worry. I'm at Nana's house and I'm spending the night. And you can even hear my grandmother in the background yelling from the kitchen, tell your mother to come pick you up. You are not spending the night. We had very little resources, and somehow as a child, I just knew that I shouldn't ask for anything.
I somehow, even as a child, understood that we didn't have a lot. So I didn't ask for much. I didn't want my mom to feel more pressure than what she already felt. I grew up kind of like with a mindset of bare minimum. And I didn't realize that until I became an adult, bare minimum. And of course, you don't want to live your life like that. But as a child, you don't know any better. There were so many things that I wanted and so many things that I probably even needed, and I wouldn't ask because I just knew that I didn't want her to feel pressured, and I didn't want her to feel like she couldn't give me what I wanted or needed.
I've had to really overcome a lot of beliefs that I instilled in my own mind as a child.
So even though it was really tough growing up as an only child and to a very young mom, there were good things about it. Everyone always thought that we were sisters when we would hang out, but we were so much alike and so close in age that we used to fight a lot.
She would always tell me, stand up straight, suck your belly in, make eye contact with people, always smile. And when you're in school, raise your hand, even if you don't know the answer.
Of course, people see a young woman with a young child doing it all by herself, making the same mistakes and having a tough life. To be honest with you, I was surrounded by it. It was very common in my neighborhood for young girls to get pregnant and drop out of school, and that was something that my mom definitely didn't want to happen. So she instilled a lot of discipline in the way that she raised me. She was very strict. There were a lot of rules in my house. I'll never forget that my cousin told my mom it's just a matter of time before Priscilla gets pregnant, and I must have been 15 at that time. People make assumptions and they look at a scenario and they always have an opinion. I am living proof that it doesn't matter what people think and it doesn't matter what your circumstances are. Not only did I prove my cousin wrong, but I also, and let me take that back, not only did we, my mother and I, prove my cousin wrong, but we proved a lot of people wrong. I turned out to be different from the rest of my family and different from the rest of the girls in my neighborhood. I am now 34, and I am the first person in my family to graduate college, traveled around the world, the first one in my family. I love to explore. I love to meet new people and explore different cultures. And I love art. I love any kind of art. I love to read. I love to cook. I love everything. I love animals. I love people. And I love meeting people who are also living proof of this. I'm here to tell you that you can be different and you can be yourself. It's so rewarding to meet new people and make new friends who have turned out to be different from the rest of the people in their neighborhood or the rest of the people in their families, and they dared to be different and step outside of the box and be who they really wanted to be. Sure, you feel like you know me a little bit better, and I hope that I can meet you guys who have been through similar situations or maybe grew up the same way. I'm here to support you. I'm here to show you that you can be different and that you can live your life how you want to live it, and always aim high because your potential is endless. I'll see you guys next time.